Hi, I'm Susan Kennard and welcome to The Spiritual Awakener. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people that have had a turning point in their life or a spiritual awakening that's led them to help you to heal your life or organize your life or just understand a bit more about who you are. So I'm really excited today for my guest that I actually met in San Diego not so long ago, and we're actually recording this on the 5th of May 2020, and I happened to meet her just a couple of months ago, and her name is Tracy Paye. Tracy, welcome so much to the Spiritual
Hi,
Awakener.
Susan. I'm so excited. Been so waiting to do this with you, and so
And
good
we
to see
got
you
there. We
again.
got there. So we met at the New Media Summit. We had such a great time, didn't we?
We had. I mean, it just blew my mind.
Yeah, it was such good fun. And the New Media Summit is really about podcasts. And
Right.
It was the New Media Summit that really got me to think about a podcast. But it's a great place to meet people like you. And we had a great time, didn't we? We had a great time. We did some lives on Facebook and we just really connected. Yep. And so it's great to have you here and to talk about your experience and what you do for people. So tell us, what was a turning point or a spiritual awakening for you?
I would say that was when my daughter was born. So my daughter is 17 going on 25, and she was born in 2002. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I had to put another human being above myself.
Wow, I know, right? Being a mother of two myself.
Yeah. And learning how to, you might want to do this right now, but you can't do this because you've got this human being whose needs are more important than yours.
Yeah.
And when I got to that place of maturity, really, I guess is what I would call it, a place of maturity, then all of my priorities changed after that.
As they do, don't they?
As they do. And then, you know how it all works. It's all holistic, then your mindset changes and behaviors change and all that. So it's, just a catalyst, but that was definitely the turning point.
Yeah. And people listening, if you obviously, a lot of people will be parents, they will be mothers or fathers listening. And I always say, and I'm writing my book and editing it at the moment, and part of it, there's a line in it and it says, all the qualifications and degrees I had, nothing taught me more than having children. I tell you, it's really, really true, isn't it? It's like
really
having degrees that you weren't even
100%. Yeah.
You chose the child, but you didn't choose a degree, right? And they do teach you a lot about self-love and, and about who you are. And do you feel it drove you as well? Do you feel it gave you the drive?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So what did it drive you to, Tracy? I know.
A few different things. Different things. Obviously, from a financial perspective, when I had her a year later, I found myself being a single mom. And I had to all of a sudden, look at the situation and go like, it doesn't matter how bad I'm feeling, how tired I am, how much I don't want to do it. I can't afford to not do the thing that I needed to do to make the money so I could keep a roof over me and my daughter's head. You know what I mean? So that was always the driving factor for me, is just, making sure that we had a nice, comfortable home. I didn't want her to, even though I was broke as a joke, I didn't want her growing up feeling like she was broke. And so that really drove me.
That's a really key point, isn't it? It's like, I'm a single parent, as you know, as well. And I became a single parent when mine were both babies. So 2 years old and 11 months. So kind of similar in a way, like, you just get on with it. But for those of you listening, it's like, actually, the drive of that is the perception as well. It's like the way you perceive the world when you're that young is really key to how you perceive the world later on in life. Yeah. So it helps them understand that you don't necessarily have to have a nuclear family, right? Do you? Where it's mum, dad, grandparents, you can actually give those children what they need. And I would say the emotional support is the key, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just not ever making them feel like again, like, you know, she was broke, or that, you know, we had a bad life, or, but at the same time, I was realistic too. If, you know, if I felt like crying, you know, and I cried a lot, I'll admit I cried a lot, very stressed out, you know, you know how it is. It's just, you're just stressed all the time. And I had insomnia. I was in the sleep thing. I was an insomniac for 15 years. You know, the anxiety that I felt, and I also have ADHD, lucky me. And just the combination of all of that, it caused me to not sleep, you know, and I would just have to take a sleeping pill. And if I didn't take a sleeping pill, my body would not shut down till 6:30 in the morning. And I was just this walking zombie. But, you know, again, it's just going back to what I was saying before with the whole tired thing. It's just like, it doesn't matter how tired you are, because you're still going to have to go out and make this money. Because if you don't, you're not going to keep a roof over the head of you and your child. It always came back to that. And so I got to this place where I'm like, if I have to do this anyways, I would rather do it feeling good. I would rather have, you know, go work with my, you know, let me tell you something, organizing when you're tired is brutal. And I do this over and over and over and over and over again. Right. And, you know, I just basically got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. So I had to start really working on my sleep. And that's what led me down the path of understanding stress and the big role it plays in everything. And, you know, but the financial, going back to your original question, the financial drive was always a big one. But on the other time, I didn't want my daughter to feel like, I wanted her to also know that this was also life, you know, that I'm not going to be one of those kind of parents that's just like going to shove a bunch of stuff in her face, you know, to try to not deal with the reality of the situation, which I see all the time in people's homes. I didn't want that. I wanted, you know, her to know that, I'm stressed out right now and I'm crying. And guess what? That's life. You know, there's other parents who have disagreed with me on that. You know, they've said like, you never want to let your kids see you cry. I'm like, really? So basically I'm teaching them to not be human. That's the way I saw it. You know, so
and that's a really good point, isn't it? It's a really good point. And it's, you know, I have a daughter of 12 and a son nearly of 11. And I've always taught him that it is okay for him to be emotional, to cry, to have hugs, you know, and I think especially the reason why I'm saying him is because we tend to do that with girls, but we tend not to do it with boys. And so then what have we got? A society of, this is quite controversial, but a society of men that perhaps can't show their emotions, right? So yes, if we're bringing them up in that sense, aren't we, where we can say, actually, mummy might be stressed or daddy might be stressed, but that's okay, because we can come back from it. And these stress. Which it just out of nowhere appeared, something that I always tell my clients around organizing ties into what you just basically said, which is, I tell people it's not about staying organized 100% of the time. It is about how quickly can you get back to being organized. If you know, you go out for vacation, you come home, you just throw your luggage there, your clothes are spread out for like maybe a couple weeks, you know, because you got so busy or whatever. But San Diego.
You know,
bringing the case home from San Diego.
Oh my gosh. What and you know, you know, that just to say something about that, how funny was it that we were in this little tiny bubble of positivity. Little did we know what was going on around us with the COVID.
Well, we had a sense
about ready to break.
It just started, hadn't it? It just started. Like we're interviewing in May 2020, and so this was kind of March 2020. And those of you that listen to it now will know obviously what's happening in the world, and we are restricted, and all over the world we're restricted and staying in, and you know, having to go within, really, you know, spiritually having to go within. Big awakening. But at the time, I mean, my family were like, don't go, you know, like don't fly on a plane. Oh yeah, because I was coming from England to San Diego, right? But when we got into the conference, literally we just I would say within half a day, everyone was just in that space of who we really are. Which is incredible beings here to make a difference to people.
It was incredible.
And when I walked out of it, you might have seen my video where I was at San Diego airport, and I was like, oh my God, can you see this? Right. And it was the middle of the night or whenever it was, you know, in the UK. But, and so it's just funny, isn't it, that we can actually do that. So we can actually, as we're in, and Tracy's going to talk now about what she actually does to help you. But when we're in, this is a really great time for us to go within and then look at our surroundings. So yeah, Tracy, tell us what you do and how you do it.
Yeah. I am a certified professional organizer. I also do Feng Shui, and I'm also a productivity coach. But I'll talk mostly about organizing and how it's relating to what's going on right now, which is, let me just tell you, I know we have a pandemic going on right now, but in from the bottom of my heart, I truly feel like this is such a blessing for the entire world. And the reason why I can feel that way with so much confidence is because, to me, what the world is going through is exactly what my clients go through during the organizing process. It's the same thing.
So fantastic. Yeah, wow.
It's the same thing. And I know what comes out on the other side of this. You know, that's why I can, when I'm working with my clients, usually they come to me in a place of overwhelmed. That's the main reason why people call me, is because they get overwhelmed, because they're stressed out, and they literally shut down the executive function of decision making in the frontal lobe of their brain.
Wow.
Right. And then you need to make a bunch of decisions when you organize. Right. So it's like you're a chicken with your head cut off situation. Yeah. So when they come to me, they are already overwhelmed. But they are in a place where they're like, something happened, some sort of trigger happened that put them in a place of like, they had to finally face reality.
Wow. Yeah.
And deal with what's going on right in front of them instead of putting the blinders on.
And so you're talking about someone's house.
I'm talking about someone's house,
their room, their
something. It could be just something as simple as they realize they're really not getting good sleep at all because their bed, they haven't replaced it in 30 years.
Yes.
You know, or they climb into the sheets, and every time they climb into the sheets, and now I'm tying in some feng shui here, but every time they climb into the sheets feel itchy, or there's stains on them or whatever. Or they're going to Hawaii. Well, of course that wouldn't be happening right now, but let's just pretend like that's possible. And they are going to Hawaii, and that wasn't a good example. They're going to London, and they need a passport. Okay. But they're trying to, gather all their stuff before they go. And they don't know where their passport is, and they miss their plane or something like that. You know what I mean? Or a kid breaks his leg, or something usually happens that makes that person say, okay, the way that I have things set up in my home is not going to work for me anymore. And usually it's because they've made this connection between how stressed out they are. Yes. And they don't even know the next step to take, right? And they're feeling very inefficient and ineffective in their lives, and their energy levels are down. It's just, they almost, like, most of my clients have to get to almost like a rock bottom before they're willing to call and ask for my help, which is sad, but I get it. I'm the way too. I don't raise the white flag easy.
Because that's similar to me, working as a trauma specialist and, working holistically. People have tried this, and this, and this, and then they find me. So it's kind of like, with you, it's different. Like they've done everything, they've tried everything. And this is a great time to listen to this, guys, because if you are in that place where you're looking around you and you're thinking, when this is all over, because it's going to change, it's going to be over at some point. And your kids go back to school, or you go back to work, whatever work is, you go back to seeing people, going shopping, doing all the stuff you've got to do. Do you want to walk back into that environment in the same way? And before we started recording this, I was saying to Tracy that I normally would get someone to do my decorating for me, but I've been stripping the wallpaper off in my room, which I never normally would do. So it's things like that, you're looking at it and saying, well, this needs to change. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what I really love about right now is that people are proving to themselves that they can organize on their own. Yeah. And that's a message that I really try to drive home into my clients, is that it's not that you can't organize on your own. It's just, you don't know what to do.
Yeah. You might not be brought up that way. You might not have been brought up to organize yourself, or your life was
Yeah.
chaotic early days. And therefore then you just kind of get on with it and do it and live every day. And what I'm kind of getting here intuitionally is it's about food as well. Like, you might not do that, but if you look at what you put in your body, oh, I haven't got time to do that, I haven't got time to do that. It's when your life is so full, you know, and it's just like that's put on the back burner. I love the case analogy, like the suitcase, and you just leave it there like for a week, you know. It's like, well, I don't need that clothes, so I just leave it there, and it just stays in the bedroom.
Yeah, and let me tell you what that all translates into. At the end of the day, if you just think about it from this perspective, it's super easy and very motivating when you think of it like this.
Yeah.
Everything, and I'm using Feng Shui principles now, but this is not a Feng Shui principle. Everything is energy. That is a fact. That is not frou-frou-lala. That is not just Feng Shui. That is a fact, that everything is energy. Energy is vibrational, as you know.
Yes.
And we're just going to say, for simplicity's sake, low, mid, high energy. Okay, we'll just say low to high energy. So the deal is that you want to, in your home, not just in your physical, like in your home where you live, but in your home, in your mental home, in your emotional home, in your body home, all of your environments where you live, right? You want to have it vibrating as high as possible. Because the higher that vibration is, the better things are going to feel, the better they're going to function.
You feel clear. You feel
clear. Yeah. You feel more engaged. You feel more creative.
Productive.
You know, yeah, absolutely. I work in a lot of people's home offices, and it's amazing how their productivity starts to soar immediately after we clear the space. More money. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that in Feng Shui, every part of your home is associated with a part of your life.
Yes.
So as an example, when you walk in through your front door, I follow the BTB version of Feng Shui, which is a westernized version of Feng Shui, and they use the Bagua map, which is simply like, you can look it up, Bagua, B-A-G-U-A, Bagua map. And it's like a rectangle with 9 squares, and you line it up from your front door. And based on that map, if you're standing, you can envision this in your mind right now. If you're standing at your front door,
this is great,
and you're looking into your house, the upper left-hand corner of the house, usually that's where like the backyard would be, it's the back half of your house. Okay. That is the money corner of the house.
Okay. Yeah.
The money corner.
And is that upstairs? So I have a Victorian house that's 3 stories. So would that be in every one of those rooms?
Yeah. In that same space. Yeah. And Feng Shui can be done in per room. It could be done for the entire house, and it can also be done for the entire house plus the landscaping around it. Wow. But when we're talking about just the house, the money corner is in the upper left-hand corner of your house.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, guys, think about it, visualize it in your mind, come into the front door of the house, and the upper left is where your money corner is. So have a look at that money corner. Do you have some old rubbish bin there? We call it rubbish here in the UK. Do you have a trash bin there? Do you have, it's waste paper basket. That's right. Yeah. Waste paper basket there. Do you have, I don't know, a pile of laundry? Do you have a drawer that needs sorting out? That kind of thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Anything, and here's an even easier way to think about it. Anything that when you look at it, it doesn't make you feel good, because your thoughts and your emotions are also energy. Those also carry a vibrational charge. And I tell you what, the first thing I do when I work with clients, when I walk through their house, I call it the walk and talk. And what I'm looking for is something very specific, but I don't tell them what I'm looking for until the very end of this walk and talk.
Right.
Yeah. What I'm looking for is how many times they say the word hate.
Wow.
That's the more specific one, but also when they express any kind of negative emotion. I find a lot of that is in women's closets, by the way, where they express the most hateful energy. Yeah. But if they're walking through and we're in the money corner, and they say, oh, I hate that couch over there. It's been in my husband's family, and I can't get him to get rid of it, and it's so uncomfortable. Wow. Those are all low vibrational thoughts. And guess what that's going to do? It's going to energetically imprint in the money corner of your house and affect your money. That's how it works. It's that simple.
So when you're now going to run, don't come off this. Don't stop listening to this podcast. But we're all going to run after this podcast. Go and check our money corners. So
absolutely, and I hope so.
This is amazing. So can you do the love corner as well?
Love corner, yes. Yeah. And that's the other corner. Whenever I'm describing this, those are the two corners that I mention the most, because those seem to be the big ones most people want improvement in, is relationships, money, and then the health corner. And the health corner is actually, even though it's not in a corner, they call it corners in Feng Shui. It's in the middle of the house. That's the health corner is in the middle of the house, right? But the relationship corner is the upper right-hand corner of your home. So again, if you're standing at your front door, you upper right-hand corner of your home, that's the relationship corner. And you know what's hilarious to me? When I work with a single woman whose closet is in the relationship corner of her house.
Oh my God.
And when I teach her what I just said, the Feng Shui and that how it connects, and that's probably causing problems in her, dating world or whatever, you wouldn't believe how fast she starts purging clothes. It's hilarious to me. And she's like, I've held on to this for 20 years. I'm like, oh, really? Let me blow your mind a little bit. And next thing you know, there's 5 bags at the front door.
Yeah, charity.
It was a change in perception, and when that's how I get my clients, that's why I'm so effective at getting my clients to get rid of stuff with them doing it easily on their own, not with me standing over there judging them or making them feel bad or anything. It's they easily come to that conclusion when they make that energetic connection.
See, and for me, what I'm listening is empowerment. Like I always find knowledge is so important. Like we're listening to you. This is one of the best podcasts. I'm loving it. Oh, so basically I'm listening to you. Well, of course it's right up my street. So that really helps. But if you listen to this, guys, and you feel to yourself like there's this box somewhere, or I know definitely when I moved into this house, I unpacked pretty much within, sort of 3 or 4 months, everything was
nice.
Unpacked. But
nice.
I'd done a lot of that before I moved. So I'd done so much clearing of old stuff before I moved. So I didn't have as much to clear, but I know that some people take everything with them.
Everything.
From the house.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have any boxes of removal stuff that I have to, we've been here just over a year.
Bravo.
But I know that in my old house, when I moved, there was still a box from when I'd moved in 11 years previous.
And that stayed on your mind, didn't it? You thought about that box, maybe not all the time,
but it was energetically there.
There. Yeah. And that's what people don't realize, is that people get to a place in their home where they put the blinders on, and there's no judgment by saying that. It is a pure survival mechanism. You have got to do what you got to do, just get through the day, especially when you have 2, 3, 4 kids, whatever. You've got a 4 or 5 bedroom house, and the kids doing soccer, and then you got this and then you got that. It's just, there's a lot more going on. Yeah. And people just at some point have to put the blinders on to be like, you know what, I would love to repaint my wall right now, but I've got this, and then it gets pushed down to the bottom. Right. But, when people start getting to that place where when they're willing to take those blinders off, and when they're willing to just do something in their house. And let me tell you something, there's nothing more powerful than just getting started. That is the hardest part of getting organized. Is getting started part. But once you get started and you build momentum, it's much easier. And I tell people, if you're going to get started doing this on your own, the easiest place to start for most people is their own clothes closet. That's the easiest place for most people to start. Because especially if they're living in the house with several people, right? All those other places, there's other people that you have to think about when you're making decisions in that spot. But when it comes to your own clothes, usually it's just yours. So the decisions are easier. And then once you've made some progress in there, you're going to feel better. Your stress levels are going to come down. Your energy levels are going to go up, and it's going to give you more oomph to start doing other parts of your house. And that's what's happening to people right now. That is exactly what's happening. I know we got the call that the schools were closing. I got the call, and it was on the Thursday, and on the Friday we picked up our puppy. And then on the weekend, weirdly, I have like a whole wall of closet, right? And I went through my closets that weekend. So weirdly, and that was right at the start of this shutdown. And I just naturally did it. You just naturally did it. And I didn't have any thought. You're really in tune with your environment. That's a sign of you being very in tune with your environment. Yeah, I get a lot of guidance. So, I think that, but what I want to say is that if you're listening to this and you feel kind of really overwhelmed, you're maybe not sleeping, the kids, in my case, go to bed really late and get up late. You don't feel like you have a lot of time. What is the one thing
that perhaps in your bedroom, because bedrooms are to me sacred.
Oh,
so
yeah.
in your bedroom, what is the one thing you can change? And what would you say, Tracy, if someone was looking around their bedroom, what would be a key thing for them? You know,
gosh, there's so many angles I can go here,
right?
because it's
Yeah.
really, it really
Well, let's
just
do money. Let's do, I know we've got the money corner. Yeah. But what would be an example of something to change?
Okay, let me just tell you this. I will tell you what I have found usually makes the biggest, creates the biggest energetic shift the fastest. Is when you move furniture.
Oh, wow.
When you move furniture, sometimes I'll be working with somebody in their bedroom. Okay, going back to the bedroom. And let's just say that person has a very difficult time changing things, like they have a difficult time getting rid of stuff or whatever. I'll just make a super tiny change and I'll be like, how about we kitty corner your dresser? Which, you know, it's just like blows their mind, like kitty corner? What just happened here? And I'm like, kitty corner is when you take your furniture and you put it sideways.
Oh,
like
sideways.
maybe, yeah. So maybe like you take like your dresser, maybe you've had it up against the wall, but now you kind of put it in a corner and have it sideways. And it adds a different something to the bedroom. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And that one little shift, I can't even begin to tell you what it will do to all of a sudden the energy in the room. And next thing you know, the person, I'll come back maybe the next session where they could barely purge at all. And next thing you know, they've got the 5 bags waiting at their door, you know, or they'll say, oh, my husband, all of a sudden out of nowhere just went into his closet and started purging all of his pants. I didn't say anything. Let me tell you something. That is my little secret trick for wives when working in their spaces with their husbands. And I'm like, you're not going to tell your husband my little trick here. My little trick is that you don't have to nag your husband to do this. Even if he's totally against this, which really sucks, but even if he doesn't want any part of it, it's okay. He doesn't have to do anything, because let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to start making the changes, and it's going to have a catalytic energetic effect to it, which it always does. And it affects everybody in the house. Not only that, it could affect your neighbors as well. I've seen that happen, right? And the next thing you know, you're going to start cleaning up all your areas. And there's something about it. I think it's competitiveness with men, where all of a sudden their stuff, their mess starts standing out more. And then they start to, in their minds, like, oh my God, my wife is doing all this stuff and I'm kind of not doing anything, and I better step it up. And then they start doing stuff and the wife doesn't even ask them to do it. You know, it happens so much that I have my own little secret trick. I
notice that when I work with people and they heal their vibration and emotionally what's going on, their family changes. So that's so cool. That makes total sense to me. So can I ask you a question? It's basically for my own help here, but I'm sure it will help everyone else. I started stripping my wallpaper in my room, and it's an old Victorian house. Do you know what they're like? Victorian houses in England, So they quite often had things like wood chip paper. You know what that is, So I'm stripping it off, takes forever. And now I look at the walls in my bedroom, I'm like, oh God, it looks so awful, the walls, because all you've got is the residue of, it needs plastering, right? And it needs redecorating, which will happen when we can start getting people in. When you look at that, what happens? What happens when, you know, you wanted to I wanted to clear it. I wanted to get rid of this old energy of this old paper. But what's left behind when I look at it is not nice. So what happens then in your energy? What would happen?
Gosh, there's so much I could say about this. I wish we had another 2 hours for this stuff, but okay, so okay, let me see. So first of all, let me start it from one angle here. That bravo to you that you did it. And you're allowing yourself, even though it's driving you crazy, but you're allowing yourself to sit in the in-between stage.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can see the light, you know.
Yes. And that
I can visualize it. I can see how it's all going to look.
Perfect. See, and you see how different that energy is?
Yeah.
Just talking.
Every time I go to bed, I'm like, oh, look, that's going to look
right. Instead of looking at that wallpaper and going, oh, I got to do something about this. I got to do something about this. I got to do something about this. Yeah. So even though the energy you're sitting in right now,
which is where it was.
which is where it was, right? Yeah. So even though the energy you're sitting in right now is not the vibration that you want to be at, you want to be at the vibration where you look at it and you're like, it's completed. Because that's a very high vibration is when you can look at something and go, it's done, or I love it and I use it. Those are very high vibrations to achieve. Yes. You're not there yet, but you are not in the vibration of, I got to do something about this. I got to do something about this. It's almost like the difference between apathy and anger. You know, if we're looking at the emotional scale, right? When you're in apathy, you're not doing anything, right? And that vibration is much lower, and anger is the next level up. And even though anger is not ideal, it's still a higher vibration than apathy.
I get that.
So that's kind of where you're at. You know what I mean? Yeah. And good for you, because one of the strategies that I teach my clients, I call it the at least strategy. At least. And I tell you, it has saved me so many times in my life. I can't even begin to tell you. When I came up with that and then I started practicing, I used laundry as my first example. And it's just like, it made that whole process easier. And then I started applying it to dishes, and I started applying to everything I can think of. What is the least that I can do? Yeah. And what that does is it starts the process. That's what I'm saying. That's a very powerful energy to be in, is starting. Yes. Right. And being willing to deal with the chaos in the meantime, because anytime you make any kind of change, especially when you're organizing, just yesterday, in my own house, I just wanted to make one little tiny change. I wound up going into 6 different spaces in my house to make that one change, because once you start, then that thing needs to go over there, and that thing that went over there needs to go. That's how it works, right? So if you're willing, when you start the process, it doesn't matter what you do, but if we're talking organizing, if you're willing to at least start the process and deal with the chaos, I promise you that it's going to feel so much better. Even though it's going to not feel great, it's going to feel much better than being in that place of indecision and procrastination.
Or disconnect in a way, isn't it? It's like, you know, if you see something for so many and you go, oh, like that sofa you were talking about in someone's house, in the money corner, it's like, oh, I hate that, I hate that, I hate that. So you're just putting that, you're disconnecting from a possibility.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got that, so I had a possibility. Mine was, I literally visualized it one night. I'm like, and a day later, I got up 8 a.m. and I'm like, peeling it off as I'm not even out of my bed. And I'm like peeling this wallpaper off. So that's how quickly you can change something. And I think if you're listening to this, you are so ready to change something, whether it's just your shoes, your closet, your bedroom, the whole of your house.
And just a little thing can change everything.
So we're not finishing, Tracy, but I want people to, because I could talk to you for ages. What's your website? How can they get hold of you just now in this moment?
Okay. So my website is missorganized.com. So it's MISS organized. With a D at the end of it. That took me 15 years to get that URL. I'm very proud of that one. And that's my website. There is a contact form on there under free consultation, phone consultation you can fill out. Amazing. I have virtual coaching that I'm offering on my website. So there's, let me see, what is it? missorganized.com/DIY with Missorganized. You can learn a little bit about my virtual coaching services and how, you could do, like I said, you could do this, you can do this. I promise you can, you just need the plan. So you follow my plan, you use your hands, and it will be done. Yeah. And they can also find me on social media, Facebook at Missorganized San Diego, and Instagram is also Missorganized.
Brilliant. And we, in England, we say with an S, Missorganized, but you spell it with a Z. So I just want to put that clear.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That actually made that clear for me too, because I've seen it like that before. And I was like, what?
Yeah. I don't know why.
What's happening here?
I have no idea. but we do. And so I just wanted to say that. I mean, actually my audience is worldwide, but if they're listening to this perhaps on my Facebook or something like that, when they're watching the video or on my YouTube, remember it's got a Z in it and not an S. So organized, not in the UK way of spelling it. For some reason we spell it that way, but with a Z. Okay, so misorganized with a Z. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to say about this? It's so cool. It's just like such the best conversation. So.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. I love talking about this stuff, you know, because not only are we talking about energy, but we're actually just we're increasing our energies just talking about energy. Isn't that ironic, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I could just feel like my body is humming right now, and that is going to just translate to the rest of my day. It's just the way that it works. And you know, so a couple of things I want to say about that, continuing on to the wallpaper. But what I just said was, that's how you want to have the energy in your home. Is you want the energy to vibrate as high as possible.
Yeah.
So that because you know, you can feel it. You know, everybody knows when they walk into a space and they're like, "Ew, it doesn't feel good in here." Or you walk into a space and you feel like you can stay there all day. I tell people that one of the biggest clues that we have changed the energy, two big clues, when we have changing energy in the house, and maybe they're not feeling it yet, but I'm like, look at your animals. So first of all, the animals will start acting a little bit differently, or they'll start going into like a different space that they normally go into and relax. And I'm like, okay, so that's one sign the energy has changed. The other sign is if they have guests come over, and if you see the guests just sitting there and they put their arms up on the back of the couch like this, and they start talking about how comfortable and how good it feels in there, then, you know, anytime anybody's ever come to my house, that's the first thing they say. They walk in the house like, "Oh my God, it feels so good in here." I'm like, yeah, I know. That's intentional.
I actually get that as well. Not now, obviously, because we're social distancing. But I always got that before in my old house.
Back in the day.
And it was like, back in the day. Do you remember those times? So we sit down and say, "Oh, it's just something about the energy in the house, right?"
And I don't want to leave. And
I thought
that's a good sign
about my guides and, you know, all of the beautiful beings that work with me, but it could have been also about the colors, about
the colors. Colors play a huge role. That's part of Feng Shui too.
Let's talk about colors.
Let's talk about colors. So let's see. You know, I will just tell you the main colors. Here's the colors that apply to getting some results in your life. Okay, so in the money corner of the house, the colors are purple, green, and golds. But I will tell you that the most effective color I've used in the money corner is purple. I have seen that produce results so fast. Something simple as like a candle or a pillow.
It's really spiritual as well, isn't it?
And if you think about it, the reason for that is because purple has an energetic charge to it that is connected to royalty. Because back in the day when purple became a thing, you know, because, you know, we didn't all go through our life, the entire life, you know, we didn't have purple clothes, you know, at some point purple became a thing in clothes. And when it became a thing, it was only for the royalty. So purple became associated with the royal kind of vibe, right? So it has this energy of wealth to it. So putting purple in that color, in that corner, is very effective. In the relationship corner, the colors are red, pink, and white. Again, I have seen, again, you don't have to go and paint your walls red. In fact, you got to be very careful when you use colors, because colors have vibrational charge to them. So red, as an example, is like when you think about a bull, right? Charge. They've got the red thing. The matador's got the red thing. It's because that has an energy with it that's an excitable charge energy, right? So you would never want to put that in your bedroom, just like a red wall, because that's excitable energy, and that's not the energy vibration you want to be in when you sleep. Right. Absolutely. But if you say like have an office, that would be a great color to use on the wall. Because it's, you know, gets everybody excited. Another color is the other colors that I like to use are the nature colors, like browns and just grounding colors that when you look at them, it feels like soft, like you want to go and just relax in that bed. And I use that more specifically. I use grounding techniques when I'm working with kids in their spaces, especially kids who are in a divorce situation, because when you like use the color green as an example, even though that's a nature color, that's a color you want to be careful with, like in a kid's bedroom if they're going through a divorce. Somebody needs to hear this, by the way. I don't know who it's for, but somebody needs to hear this. But because green represents change, right? In nature, it represents change. Well, this kid's already going through enough change. They need a stabilizing force. So if they have a green bedroom, they're just like constantly not being able to get settled. Okay. So,
did you hear that, guys? Like, if your child is having, you know, like going through perhaps some difficult times in the family, or, you know, having to deal with a lot of change, which might be now actually, then green's not the best color.
Green's not the best color. And just, again, it's, you know, the way I treat Feng Shui, the easiest way to do it, it can get really, really complicated and frou-frou-lala, but the way I treat it is intuitiveness. Like, that's why I like BTB, is because it's a more of an intuitive based kind of approach, instead of the other approaches, which are like compass methods, where you literally take out a compass. But this one, to me, has more of an intuitive nature to it. So, you know, you got to think about your home as like a vision board, right? And so vision boards are, the idea behind it is you put the image in front of you and you keep thinking about that. And that is going to translate into your outer world, right? You're going to create that, right? So you want to start looking at your home, like every area of your home, and asking yourself, okay, that's the money corner of my house, and I see nothing but dishes that are piling up, and, you know, stained forks and a dead plant, and there's no food in my fridge. You know, maybe your money corner is where your kitchen is, right? And if you're seeing all that, that's not going to produce prosperous thoughts.
Amazing.
Right. So, but then you can look at it and go like, you know what would make me feel real? I went into my friend's kitchen, and when I was in there, she had these like white cabinets, you know, that's would be very expensive to do, but she has white, and it just made me feel so, it felt so elegant and so rich and so royal. That's the feeling you want, right? And when you have that feeling in the money corner, guess what's going to happen? It's just going to happen, right? So that's why, you know, if you just kind of think about intuitively in every space what you want, and if your environment is reflecting what you want, and if it's not, make the changes. It could be something as simple as the colors, changing the furniture, adding a plant, adding a crystal, water features. It really depends upon the space in the house, but simple little things that when you look at them, it makes you feel better, and that's all you need to be concerned with.
That's perfect.
Does it make you feel better?
What about just children's bedrooms again? So if you so my daughter, she finds it really hard to go to sleep in her own room. Okay, she's 12. And she finds it really difficult to go to sleep in her own room. And she says, and yes, she has a really beautiful room, right? It's really lovely. And it's got grey. It's got grey, it's brown, kind of beigey, warm, lovely carpet. Sounds awful, but it's really nice. and clear rooms, like it's kind of like light colours in the room, and wardrobes and so on, and her furniture. But she's got a grey duvet set. What do you feel about that? What do you feel?
You know, grey is one of those colors that I'm always mixed about it, about greys, because technically in Feng Shui, grays fall into the cool color family. So that's the color that you want to avoid in the bedroom when you are in a relationship. You don't want those cool colors in your bedroom, because it might create, it kind of is weird, because you're like, but I want this kind of like Zen-like, spa-like feel, which is true. But are you planning on, sorry to be so crude, but are you planning on not having sex anymore in your life? Because, you know, are you going to just be Zen'd out to, you know, all
what
the
about
time?
white? What about white? White linen.
That's another color, you know, that is just like, it can go either way, you know, it can create, it can, you know, the way that you have it set up, it could be perceived by some as being sterile, you know, and for like, and that's why I'm saying is that it's intuitive, you know, I don't care what the book says, you know, if you walk into a space and the book says, put your couch this way, and you sit on the couch, face the way the book says, and it doesn't feel right to you, don't do it.
Don't do it. No.
Don't do it.
I love white. And to be honest, all
me too. And I love gray. I do. I love both of those.
I love.
But back to your kids' bedroom really quick, because there might be some other things that are going on there. So a couple things is, one, does she have any clutter in her room at all? Anything under her bed? Anything under her bed?
No.
Okay. Is her bed with the window right behind her head?
Oh, it's in front of her, so she would be looking at.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to turn the bed in the bedroom? No. Okay.
Not really.
Have you asked her why?
She doesn't like the energy in there.
Okay, and that's fine. No, that's totally fine. That's why I'm asking you these questions, because it could be a very simple solution. And thank God that she's sensitive to that.
Oh, she is.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful that you've got that. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you really got to honor that, as you already know, obviously.
Yes.
But I will tell you that there's so much I could say here, but there's 3 organizing styles. Okay. This was identified in a book called Organizing the Disorganized Child. Just amazing book that really changed the way I work with clients. But one of the styles, organizing styles she identifies, is called cozy / spatial. That is what I predominantly am. People who are more cozy spatial tend to be the ones who are more energetically aware of their environments. They're more sensitive to their environments. So that's why, you know, the book is basically about learning your style and how to set up your environment to reflect the way your style is so that it works for you, you know? So going back to your child and knowing that she's energetically sensitive, one of the main questions I ask kids right from the beginning, as soon as I walk into the room, this is the question I start with. What do you like and what don't you like? And just let them start talking. And you would be surprised what comes out of your kid's mouth when you ask that question.
That, and we got rid of, so the door is to the right, so she can see who would be coming in the door. And before that, she had something in the way of that. So we got rid of that.
Oh, nice.
Which is actually downstairs, which is great. And so now she can see, and the doors are open, and she can see what would, you know, if someone was coming in.
Oh,
that's
so
one
good.
of the things. And then another thing was a piece of furniture she didn't like. So so I did ask her that question.
Good.
I did ask her that question. But yeah, I'm going to ask her again, and I'm going to say, what other things do you not want in there? And we can
do that. And it could be, you know, I remember talking to some kid. I got an opportunity to teach a month of organizing at the Winston School in Del Mar, which is a school that caters to children who have, you know, challenge. They're gifted children, but they have, you know, educational challenges, learning disabilities.
That's amazing.
And and it was a very amazing experience. And I remember, and these are very sensitive children. And this one particular child I was talking to, I asked that question, hey, what's working, what's not working? She goes, you know, my carpet feels like glass. When I walk on it. It broke my heart, Susan. It broke my heart. And what broke my heart even more about that is that once I helped her become aware of what she didn't like, and she went back to her mom and said, hey, this is what's not working for me, and this is what I need in order to, you know, improve these things, her mom wouldn't do anything. Her mom wouldn't do anything. And that's the thing, is that your kids, I'm not saying you, but in general, kids, they absolutely have an opinion about their bedroom. They absolutely do, but they don't share it usually with their parents most of the time because they don't have a say a lot of time. So when you give your child the ability to have the say in their bedroom over as much as you most possibly can, where their bed is placed, the colors that they use, the furniture that they have, blah, 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 then you are going to empower them in their room. And the more empowered they are in their room, the more of a chance that they're going to keep it clean and organized because they want to. Because that's their little domain, right? And I'm even talking about not even having like any of your stuff in their bedroom. A lot of times I'll see parents have their extra coats that they don't wear, winter coats, you know, stuck in their kid's closet. And then the kid never feels complete ownership over that bedroom because their parents' stuff is still in there. You know, and they can walk in at any moment.
Be in a position to have, like, you know, some kids might not. I mean, mine do have their own room each, but you know, some children do have to share rooms.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Tricky.
Absolutely. You have to do what you have to do. But
exactly.
But as much as you can, give them ownership in their bedroom.
Some empowerment, some autonomy to kind of use a couple of things. No, I'm definitely going to go back to her and say, look, let's look around your room and, you know, decide.
And I was going to tell you too, that it may be about adding some elements rather than taking things away. It might be about adding elements. One thing that came into my mind, I'm intuitive too. I don't always get it, but a little thing that came into my mind was a salt lamp. You know what salt lamps are? Salt lamps are, salt lamps have what is it? It's the opposite. So they're like oceans, right? So oceans give off negative ions. Right? To balance the positive ions. It's backwards. It sounds backwards, but that's the way it is. So salt lamps give off negative ions, right? Which could help to balance the energy in the room.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
So I can put that in her room.
Her bed itself, does she like her bed?
Yeah, I mean, she has a new bed. I mean, I tried that whole thing of
Okay, good.
she
Good.
chose
What
this
about
beautiful bed
and the duvet and all that stuff? She likes the
she
feel of
chose it
that.
all. She chose it all.
You know, one thing I mean, this would be a huge switch, but I'll say as a last resort, sometimes it's where the bedroom is located itself.
I
So
think it could be something to do with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like for instance, you never want to put your kid in the front room of the house as closest to the front door, especially when they're later in life. They might enjoy that because it might be kind of like their own little studio for them. But when they're younger, don't do that because
she's
it's on
back of the house.
back of the house. Perfect. Yeah. So sometimes it's the location.
Mm.
But you could add the elements, you could add crystals. Don't put any kind of water feature or plants in bedroom. Those go into other parts of the house, but none of that. But does she have anything like ADHD or anything like that? No.
She just says things like, I think she's just got this kind of fear of being on her own in a room, and so she's just like, and her bedroom is that place where obviously she's on her own.
Was she sharing a bedroom up until a certain age? Was she sharing a bedroom? No? Interesting.
So it's just, so I will talk to you about it. So if you're listening to this and you've got a similar thing going on, or you feel that there's something going on with one of your children, then it might be worth thinking about where the furniture is and just do a consultation with Tracy. Oh my God, like I'm probably going to do that with her, right? Get Sarah to speak to you.
And you know what? Honestly, I would love to speak to your daughter too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I can get
you more.
Exactly. I usually get more out of kids than the parents do.
It's the same, isn't it? If I work with children,
absolutely.
They tell me the whole thing. Whereas others like, well, she didn't tell me that.
Yeah, totally. You're like so offended as a mother. Look, I failed my kid.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I love that. And what's it for? It's that, we're good at what we do, right? And if you're listening to this, you're good at what you do. You've come from a place of you're brilliant at what you do, but you might not be brilliant at organizing your space. And so I'd like to invite you to really think about this, because I love Tracy. I love her energy. I love the fact that she's so knowledgeable. She's been there, done it, worn the t-shirt many times. It's a great expression, right? And so, I could talk to her for another day, but we do need to close this conversation. But Tracy, just say your website once more so people can get hold of you.
Sure. My website is missorganized.com. So it's MISS organized, and it's not an S in the organized. It's a Z, because I know you guys do it differently out there. Missorganized with a Z and a D at the end.com. Also, I forgot to mention my book. I have a book. It's called If Clutter Could Talk, The Stories It Would Tell.
Talk. I love that.
Yeah. You can just find it on Amazon. I've got it in Kindle version as well.
Brilliant.
And it's basically a review. It's my client stories, without revealing their identity. And just what it would be like going through an organizing process. With me, I tell it through these stories. There you go.
That's amazing. And what about a podcast?
I
was like, as I was talking to you, I was thinking, oh my God, wouldn't it be amazing if people could come on and tell their stories of how they've transformed, not just with you, but how they've transformed something in their house, like they've said, oh my God, I did this and it was a really cool thing that I did, or when I moved house, I did this,
I do. Well, funny you should say that. Yes, I definitely want to start my own. I will start my own podcast. In fact, New Media Summit, I think while I was still in the summit, when I had a little break, I called GoDaddy and I bought the URLs for the show, my podcast show. So I started it. Remember how I was telling you is that you just got to start. That was my way of starting.
Brilliant.
And what I've done since is I am trying to get this virtual coaching side of my business going, because obviously I can't go into people's homes, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time anyways. And I want to reach more people across the world. And I got a couple brave souls to allow me to do a closed purging session with them live.
Wow.
And then record it. And I'm actually going to have a watch party on my Facebook page at Miss Organized San Diego on this Thursday at 11 a.m. This is the first time I'm going to do a watch party.
Share it with
But
me.
yeah, it's you actually get to see somebody go through the process, you know, and it's like it's like I'm in her home with her as she's going through her clothes and watching her get rid of stuff. So it's and I put that on YouTube. I also have a YouTube channel, Misorganized.
Wow.
But that is this again the start
Emotional.
of my.
It's quite emotional for
It
people.
is, you know, she didn't you know, do any kind of crying emotional, but we definitely identified, you know, with pretty much everything she was getting rid of, that there was a strong memorabilia, you know, like, oh, I wore this, you know, on my wedding day, blah, blah, blah. And just a little update on her. I told her, I used my let loose strategy on her, which is, I don't know how much more time we have. I know we need to wrap it up, but let loose is basically where you take something out of the spot that it's in and you move it someplace else. You don't have to get rid of it, but you just got to get it out of your valuable real estate, and it will start to switch your thinking, and then you'll be able to let it go, you know, easier. I just checked in with her the other day and she goes, you know, it's so strange because I took those things out of my closet and now I just want them completely out of my house. When she's been holding on to them for 20 years and couldn't get rid of them.
See, I did that with a candlestick that I was given from somebody who died. Somebody passed over. He was really young. In fact, he's my spiritual awakening story. So if people want to go to episode 1, they can hear my spiritual awakening story. But essentially, he died and he gave me that as amongst the few other things as well. He was really young. He was 34. And this frog candlestick, right, which was really not pretty at all. It was metal. And I did exactly that years ago. I put it, instead of it being out, I put it in a cupboard, in a closet, and I shut the door on it. So I never saw it. So I didn't see it. So every time I looked at that thing, I didn't see that. And eventually I was just able to put it in the charity because I thought somebody else will love it. Somebody likes frogs, right? Somebody will like frogs. And so, you know, it went to the charity, and it's almost like what you're saying, Tracy, is just take one thing that someone may have given you, and it could have been someone who's passed over. And often people hold on to things like that. Don't they? Because it's like, I've got to hold on to that because that is the person. But of course, it's not the person.
No, it's not.
So it's just a bit of something that they have.
Let me tell you something. And when they do hold on to it, 9 times out of 10, they're holding on to it because of guilt. 9 times out of 10, it's a guilt. Like when I have that conversation with people, basically what comes out of that is guilt. And that's a low vibrational energy. That's just almost as bad as hate.
And I talk about it like in food, like, so guilt, shame, fear is like curry in breakfast, lunch and dinner. Right? And we all like curry, right? But we don't want it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. But if we have love and acceptance and freedom and abundance, it's like fruit, vegetables, steamed fish, whatever. Imagine putting that in your body. So I think of it like that.
Interesting.
So if you imagine it like that, like an analogy, it's like, oh my God, do I really want to have that thing in my house?
I love that.
Because it's bringing me down. Yeah. That's because I trained as a naturopath many years ago. So food is like, you know, I can like look at food and do it like that.
I love that. No, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. So if you imagine eating that the whole time, you're eating that vibration.
Right. That's awesome. I love that. I'll use that.
You can borrow it. But Tracy, thank you so much. Oh my God, I can't wait till this is going to download. It's going to go out on all my social media. So thanks so much for listening. I've had such a great time on this podcast. I've loved interviewing Tracy. And if you want to hear my spiritual awakening story, as I said before, go to episode 1 of The Spiritual Awakener. And if you have a story you want to share with me and my listeners, a turning point, a spiritual awakening, something that you feel has really opened up the doors for you to be who you are in the world, I want to hear from you. And you can find me at susankennard.co.uk. So thank you so much for listening to The Spiritual Awakener.